Okay, hi everyone. How are you? Thank you for all those who did their presentation. You did an amazing job. My name is Carida Ridoré or Carida,
I'm Katie Karkheck. Megan Stover.
and we're here to present the For Future Reference internship program, paid internship program. Okay, so how did this idea come about? So back in the day, way back in the day in 2019, I worked in the circulation department and me and my coworker, there's not a lot of people of color that work in our library, even in the community as well, patrons coming in. And we used to talk about the lack of diversity in libraries. And even we'd go through an entire shift and we wouldn't see people that look like us. And even us two, we barely work together. So that's another thing we like joke around about. So my coworker came up with a fantastic idea because she was thinking about how to make libraries more diverse. And she was saying it would be nice if her son were to work in a library and get to know libraries because maybe there's a lot of people color don't know that they can get into libraries. So that's where the idea formed, and it's a good way to create diversity in libraries long term. And so that idea went to at the time it was the DEI committee. Now it's called the Advocacy Committee, and that's where it developed from there. So, so typically when you're going to start something, you have an idea, usually two things are important. It's funding and it's also community, right? So initially, we went to our school district, Nye School District, and we talked to them about this internship program. Now, in the beginning, they really weren't for it. They didn't really understand it. I think they didn't see how it would work, combining, I guess, the school district and the library and how the students would come in and what exactly they would do, which is fair because we didn't really have it planned out that well yet. So it makes sense. But another thing, in my personal opinion, I felt like the students should be paid because the thing is, it's 11th and 12th graders. They're super busy. They're thinking about college or whatever vocational career. And the thing is, no one has time out here to not get paid. It just is what it is. So we were able to get a grant from RCLS. And from that grant, we were able to get Chromebooks and have the first term stipend for two students, right? So that helped a lot. So now going back to Nye School District, offering that, they were all for it. All right. It made a lot more sense. So and so on, we use now our operating budget to sustain the program. So every year we have the two students and they go through the internship program. So now advocating, outreach is very important. Just like Monroe said, never be ashamed at all. And I'm the type of person I'm not ashamed of anything. All right. Because if I know I'm passionate about something, I'm going to get it out there. So, Knox School District, of course, that's the main source we want because that's where the high schools are. We serve that district. We also have Knox Library. They share the same district that we do. So we let them know about it as well. And in the high school, we have the guidance department. The guidance department are key to getting it out there. We shared a lot with other places in the community like Nike Center and Pride Center. But also I'm the type of person where I'll go to a street fair and if I see someone from Nike School District, we're having a conversation. Like that's how I am, you know? So it's like you have to do everything you can to get it out there. Social media is great, but in-person connection, I feel like, I don't know, people keep their word. They tend to keep their word more about that. So like that's something that I did. And so this all helped us with our long range goal of creating diversity. And I can tell you right now, like I'm a children's librarian and I do school visits. And sometimes I'll see the kids of color look at me really weird and they'll wave. And I'm like, what happened? But then I thought about it. I'm like, the face that they have is actually the same face I had as a little girl when I would see someone that looked like me. But then I thought about it, I'm like, oh, wait, it's the same face I have now as the head of the Children's Services Department when I see people come into the library that look like me. So that's why this is important because diversity is still needed. And when people ask me, what do you do? I tell them I'm a librarian. And then some say, even my family, do people even go to libraries anymore? And then I say, only people who don't go to libraries ask me that question. And so the thing is, it's true. They're the only people. So the thing is, when we have these students come into the library and they get to see what it's like, now they have the same perspective as we do and how important it is. we have students coming from diverse backgrounds, and now they can be an advocate for libraries for us. So they'll always have this special time with us, which is something that's so meaningful. So now the curriculum and the policies, it was Megan Stover and Sean Antonucci that worked so hard on it. So I'm gonna pass it over to Megan, and she'll continue to talk about that.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So as one of our slides showed, we went from the idea of having like a 10-hour internship of just like poking in and seeing what everybody does at the library to 10 weeks and 40 hours. That's a lot of time to fill. We did that by building this structure, this framework that started in mentorship. Our interns had a dedicated mentor that they would go to every day. You always have a check-in point. You always have somebody to talk to. And of course, we all know that mentorships, they're reciprocal relationships. We're always getting something from the teens that we work with. They have great ideas. It's so cool to see their ideas coming into the library and their perspectives on libraries and their own lives and how they plan to like participate in society. And we do have a shadow portion because if you work with one person, you're only getting one perspective. We want to hear from everybody that works in the library. You work in every department, primarily with the department heads. So adult services, we work with all the full-time librarians. Children's services, whatever's going on that day is where you are. And it's not as simple as shelving books and creating book displays. The hands-on stuff is really, really great, but they get to see how all of the departments work in an interconnected manner, and you know, show how we work to support our community in this connected way. Library Foundations is the educational part. We don't have enough time in that 40 hours to even talk about how a lot of libraries function, the history of libraries and how we've gotten to where we are. I call it a media-rich crash course in libraries. The curriculum was designed from my final project. We did an e-portfolio for my MLIS with core competencies. So I took some of those, distilled them down, and we've got podcasts, articles, we have YouTube videos talking about these different topics, such as collections and access, marketing and outreach, and what's coming. This is a focus on technology. We haven't gotten to AI yet, not quite integrated. And sustainability, which we feel at Valley Cottage is really paramount to the future of libraries and the sustainability of them. Finally is our capstone project. We moved from a focus on library foundations in the first few weeks to a capstone project that is going to take their personal interests, combine them with what they're learning in the libraries, and they create something new. Some of those have been a poster presentation on how our librarians have gotten to work in libraries, because we all have such diverse professional backgrounds, right? Music education, art, studio art, social work. And that's just a glimmer, right? We're all coming from different places. We've had program presentations. Our teens have designed teen programs such as blanking on my words. We had a Minecraft program for middle school students that was based on our interns' brothers' interests. We had a teen financial literacy program, which was beautifully designed, marketing included. Yep. Like ready to roll out into our programming calendar. So it's a very neat structure and to see what people are able to produce.
And they're really good with their capstone project. It's like
it's astounding how much work goes into those. Yeah.
And these kids are incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
So the how of it, we start off with, well, like Carida said, with our community outreach. I think as a library in general, and those of us that work there are very involved in the community. So we have good relationships with the community organizations. They all know that we're doing this. The schools know, the other local organizations, Pride Center, Nyack Center, all of that. No, they send kids to us to apply. They kind of know what we're looking for. We ask for a brief essay in the application so we can kind of get a sense of what's drawing them to this. Some of them it's I'm looking for something to do, but most of them it's like I've spent most of my time as a kid in the library. So they already have a little bit of an idea of a personal connection. After we receive the applications, we go through, we set up interviews. We keep them relatively informal. We try not to make the questions too difficult. But I think it's an important part of the process of going through something because this is essentially a temporary job. So always good to have an interview. We ask them things like who they are, what they're excited about, what their superpower could be. Like,
Gotta have a silly question.
you got to have a silly question. Absolutely.
Even interviewing adults, have a silly.
Yeah. But we try to get a little bit out of them. And then we choose two per cohort, basically. So then once we have our kids picked, we bring them in. We have an orientation. So we have all of the staff that are going to be involved in the training with these kids, with the relationship that they're going to be shadowing. We all come together, we introduce ourselves, we have snacks. We present them with a binder that says, this is going to be your sort of core curriculum. Here's where it starts. We tell them about the Discord server that we set up so that they can access the coursework that they will be getting. And then they can contribute to that as well. Then we have them fill out time cards. It was very important to us that this is paid. So again, these are very motivated kids that are working very hard on school, working very hard maybe in a job. For some, this is a first job, but they're very motivated kids, and we have to tell them, like, do not bring this stuff home. Like, this is work time. This is not homework. You were getting paid for this. Do this on work time.
The only thing we would send home is tax documentation.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead and ask your parents about that.
We don't know anything about that. So we set that up, and then they have time cards. Each of them is assigned a mentor for their time doing it. This was my first time doing it this year. And then, so you have them spend an hour doing the fundamentals and then an hour shadowing whoever they're assigned to shadow. We have them write 5-minute reflections. So what you can see over here. We encourage them to ask the people that they're shadowing every question they could think of. Especially, how did you get into this? Again, because like Megan said, we come from very different backgrounds. And then they write their reflections, and then at the end of it, we ask them to write an evaluation of the program. And then we host a graduation because it's very important for them to celebrate that this is an accomplishment. And during the graduation, they present over 5 minutes their capstone project. The capstone projects are really different. They're all very based on their interests. And the thing that we forgot to mention is that with that Discord server, my mentee flew through her foundations
She
material.
was on double speed
Oh my-
for the YouTube videos, and we're like, oh,
I was like, you gotta slow down. I don't have more to give you right now. But I think both of them plowed right through it this year. And so what we did was, in their getting prepared for their capstone, because it was supposed to be 5 weeks of foundations, 5 weeks of capstone, makes our 10 weeks. They were done in 3. So we're like, okay, well, how about you start gathering resources, talk about, kind of look at how they relate to libraries, and then put them up on the Discord server so that we are actually building what those foundations are. So it was great. They were very self-directed, very self-directed.
Your families come to the graduation as well.
Oh, yeah, we ask our interns to invite anyone and everyone, their friends, their family, teachers,
Counselors,
coaches, anybody.
Yeah.
So this is really intended to be a celebration of their efforts. And it's snacks, and it's the presentation of their stipend, and usually we'll give them a little gift, and it's really a great thing.
It's cute.
Yeah. So you can switch. So here's what some of our interns have said about their experiences. I think we are all pretty universally impressed by these kids. They're smart and they're curious and they're vastly different from each other. And I know I've had a great time getting to know them all. I think we all have.
And they really love the tech services.
They love I was head of tech services at the time.
They have it behind the scenes, you know?
Get them sticking stickers and covering books.
Yeah.
They loved it.
Yeah, coming to children's, I'm like, we got a program today, so you're gonna be part of the program, and you can see how great some of them are with kids, and they love it. All right, you gotta check them in the desk, like they're really involved.
It's either children's or tech services usually.
Yeah. Yeah, they've most appreciated the hands-on nature of the shadowing experiences, as well as doing something new every day.
Yeah.
It's not always something you get to do in a job where you have an assigned role, but this is a really neat, we phrase it as a career exploration, to get to see all these different elements and see what libraries do and what you can do with a job in libraries and how disparate those things are.
We have the students meet up with one another too, so like, you know, you're going through this with one another, so they can share their experience and what are their likes and dislikes with one another as well, so that's important.
Teasing.
Yeah.
So what questions do we have? Yes.
You said it was grant funded.
The question is regarding grant funding. Our first term, which was fall of 2023, was grant funded. We used those funds from the RCLS Community Outreach Grant towards the purchase of Chromebooks, which we have continued to use. It also covered the cost of the initial stipend. So the first round of interns were paid through this grant funding. And then we have then created an operating line in our budget.
It's now
fund
coming
those.
directly out of our payroll.
Yeah. So it's within our payroll to pay the interns.
Yeah.
You guys had any pushback from like staff about that part of it? Cause I was wondering about that, cause like, you know, staff might feel uncomfortable that these kids are getting paid and money line could go somewhere else as opposed, if you know what I'm saying? Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Hasn't been any
Hopefully
issues,
not.
yeah.
No.
And everyone, the staff loves these students coming in
Okay.
too. Like, I mean, they get to, so it's like, it's not just department heads, like in the children's room, I have my staff and part-timers involve themselves in this because they all have a role that they do in the children's room. So they share what they do.
That's
And,
great.
you know, we're in a library, we love giving information. We love
Absolutely.
teaching. So it's like, there's been no issues with that.
That's
Yeah.
great.
How many interns is 2 per term? So we've been running it just in the fall. We have grand plans to do 2 sessions a year, but we haven't really developed all of the admin power that would be required for that and the funding.
Timing's short sometimes
Yeah.
too. So the shadow schedules.
The shadow schedule is a bear. That takes its own sort of project management and timeline of reaching out to primarily the department heads to know what's going on, who is where, who's on vacation. And we have a lot of fall vacations. So it's balancing who's available when and building that schedule. Yes.
Yeah.
What strategies do you, I mean, yeah, what strategies do you guys have for like helping to support your interns with looking for jobs after the end of their internship / like even just supporting them through the anxiety of like, I'm trying to find a job, I want to keep working in libraries, but like, I don't know, connections are not working out.
Okay, so how to develop our interns' abilities to continue work in libraries is sort of the question.
The emotional side of like, what strategies do you help with like with helping them through that anxiety and also like helping them find opportunities?
Well, I will say there is a little bit of therapy involved in having high schoolers come, you know, like sometimes instead of just, you know, getting to their work, we're talking about their day, and there's a lot of drama that happens in high school. But you know, any advice that we can give, because we're in a library, we know a lot of resources. So anytime that they are sharing have any questions for us, we have the ability to find the information for them. So far, I know I had one, my first one that I mentored, and she needed resources to different things. So I gave her that just because I knew it. If I don't know it, I'll find someone who does. So we really help them in terms of just like what they go with day to day, and any questions that they have. We're really open about that as well. But so far, we've had really driven kids too.
We've had good relationships with all of them too. I'd
Yeah.
say that most of them will stop in to see us and say hello. And One of them we hired as a page for a while.
Though it is not required that you have an interest in libraries before you apply, and it's not required that you then continue in the course of libraries. Like it's an opportunity to explore libraries, but you're not tied to anything.
Sure.
If they do get into libraries, great. But even if they don't, they have that seed in their head. So that's all.
And a couple of them have been very focused on owning their own businesses.
Yes.
So they're starting their own things. They call themselves entrepreneurs. They are raring to go.
And I think that's our time, but feel free to reach out to us.